What happens when money stops buying what you need? When the shelves are full, but your wallet feels empty? Most people think inflation is about prices going up, but it's really about trust going down. We live in a world where scarcity has become a business model. The less you can get, the more they can charge. The illusion of not enough keeps you working longer, stressing harder, and believing that survival means constant chasing. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Scarcity isn't always real. It is engineered. And those who see through the illusion are the ones who learn how to win when everyone else is desperate just to keep up. Throughout history, scarcity has been the most effective form of control. Empires, corporations, and governments have all used it to keep people obedient. When the Romans wanted to control the poor, they didn't need armies. They just restricted grain shipments. People who are hungry don't revolt, they beg. And that hasn't changed. In the modern world, scarcity wears a suit and tie. It's in your rent, your bills, your time. There's never enough of anything. Not enough housing, not enough jobs, not enough money to feel safe. But what if I told you that this endless shortage is exactly what keeps the system running? If everyone had enough, who would keep working to make someone else richer? When you start to notice how scarcity is created, you begin to understand why money feels weaker every year. It is not that you earn less, it is that everything costs more because the system profits when you're afraid of running out. Fear keeps demand alive. Fear sells better than luxury. Look back at history. In the 1970s, the world watched oil prices skyrocket. It wasn't because oil suddenly disappeared. It was because a handful of countries restricted supply. A crisis born from scarcity turned a resource into a weapon. Decades later, the same strategy applies to housing, food, and even digital assets. The fewer people can access something, the more valuable it becomes. Not because of what it is, but because of how badly we think we need it. And that's the trick. Scarcity teaches you to chase value outside yourself. You're told that your worth depends on what you can buy, not who you are or what you can create. The system thrives when you measure success in things you can lose. But here is where it gets darker. Scarcity doesn't just affect your bank account. It rewires your brain. Studies show that when people believe resources are limited, they make worse financial decisions. They borrow more, spend faster, and plan less. They focus on short-term survival, not long-term growth. That's how debt becomes normal. You start living in a constant state of not enough, and before you realize it, your entire life becomes a reaction to fear. Every time you see limited stock for a limited time only or prices rising soon, remember, you're not just being sold a product, you're being sold anxiety. Scarcity turns markets into mirrors of panic. And yet, if you pay attention, the same pattern repeats. Those who stay calm during scarcity always end up wealthier when the panic ends. Let's take the pandemic as an example. Remember 2020? The world shut down. Shelves were empty. Everyone feared the end of supply chains. But behind the chaos, wealth quietly moved. While millions panicked, those with reserves, cash, gold, assets, or simply patience, were buying. When fear drives people to sell, calm investors build empires. Scarcity doesn't destroy wealth, it transfers it. The question is, from whom and to whom? Those who understand that concept stop chasing and start preparing. They store real value, skills that generate income, relationships that open doors, assets that hold worth when paper loses trust. Because when money becomes unstable, what truly matters is how much you earn. It is what you own that no one can take. You can't control inflation, but you can control what kind of value you build. If you only rely on cash, scarcity will always win. But if you learn to turn ideas, creativity, and knowledge into leverage, you'll never run out, because those things multiply when shared. In times of shortage, the world doesn't reward the richest. It rewards the most adaptable. Think of farmers after the Great Depression who still had crops when others had nothing. Think of creators who learned digital skills during lockdowns and built businesses online. Scarcity punishes the passive, but it always rewards the proactive. And yet, we keep falling for the same story. The myth that someday things will be easier. But here's the truth. The system doesn't want things easier. It wants you chasing, because chasing keeps it alive. The only way out is to redefine what enough means. When you decide that enough is about possessions but about power, the power to choose, to move, to create, scarcity loses its grip on you. Because the richest people aren't those with endless money. They're those who can stay calm when the world screams panic. Every empire that collapsed had one thing in common. Its people believed scarcity would last forever. They sold everything in fear, and a few bought it all in silence. If you want to protect yourself from the next wave, whether it's inflation, layoffs, or another crisis, stop asking how to earn more. Start asking what holds value when nothing else does. So, what's the hidden cost of scarcity? It's not just financial, it's psychological. It steals your focus, your peace, your ability to see opportunity. But once you learn that scarcity is a story, not a law, you start living differently. You stop reacting to fear and start preparing for freedom. Because real wealth isn't about how much you can collect, it's about how much you can keep when everything else begins to fall apart. If this gave you a new way to see money, hit subscribe, because the future doesn't belong to those who have the most. It belongs to those who understand the value before the crowd does.